Good evening and welcome to Being Black and Craft, where we don't apologize for recognizing our influence on craft beer. This is Angie, the undeniable vixen, your host, and we have a great dynamic couple this evening. But first, let's get into a little bit of beer news. So first up, vendor registration is open for this upcoming festival. It is the Black-owned Wine and Spirits Festival located in Washington, D.C. So vendor registration is officially open for the 9th annual event. So from small batch spirits to curated wines to gourmet food and lifestyle products, this is your moment to shine at the largest celebration of Black-owned wine and spirits on the East Coast. Come vibe, pour, and connect with thousands in Washington, D.C. The deadline to register to be a vendor is September 19th, and the event is going to be on October 4th. Then we have friend of the show, Novel Strand. They are having their 7-year anniversary. So if you're in the Denver, Colorado area, they're going to have their event on July 12th. Starts on a Saturday at noon. So hundreds of beers, thousands of good people, and a beautiful mosaic moment. And they're going to have fresh beer, probably some new releases, a DJ, and of course, food. So every visit, every toast, every one of you, a piece of what makes us whole. Let's celebrate together. Then we have some people with some awards. We have another friend of the show, New Dawn Distilling. So this is a new award that I had never heard of in the spirits realm called the SIP Awards. And New Dawn Distilling has their 6 and their 10-year whiskeys have achieved the remarkable recognition of winning gold and silver for this year at the SIP Awards. And the 10-year has taken home the Innovation Award. This is one of the I believe I have the 6th year. I have the 6th year that I got to sample, and then we did it when we did Black Beer Delegates, our monthly share where we just did liquor. So this is one of the iterations that I brought was New Dawn. So this prestigious accolade underscores the exceptional quality and craftsmanship that goes into each bottle. Our dedication to producing premium whiskeys is reflected in this honor, and we are thrilled to see our efforts celebrated with such a respected platform. These awards not only highlight excellence of our whiskeys, but also reinforces our commitment to delivering exceptional experiences in whiskey enthusiasts around the world. Then we also have another friend of the show, Los Hermanos, which I think when I met them, he had already won like 3 or 4 awards. So they have a couple. So they have the Blanco that won double gold, Consumer's Choice Award. Then they have the Reposado, also winning double gold, Consumer Choice Award. And then the Añejo, which was the gold medal. And this is what was interesting because I didn't know. I'm glad that he explained. Double gold means it's reserved for the best of the best spirit ranked in the top percentile of their category. And then the gold is a mark of noteworthy performance and strong recommendations by a diverse consumer panel. And the Consumer's Choice Award overall is earned by brands that consistently win year after year. This is the ultimate symbol of trust, quality, and craft. So this brings a total of 41 awards that they've won in less than 4 years. So congratulations to Los Hermanos. Definitely a great sipping tequila. I'm really impressed by the growth and everything that him and his brother have been doing. And it really is good tequila. So if you're in the, you can order it online. It pretty much ships everywhere. Just, those couple of states that don't ship alcohol. But the Blanco is really, really good. And if you're in the Maryland DMV area, you can just run to the store and get it. It's delicious. Then another award, or rather semi-finalist, we have, because this is kind of going out of my path, but I've been watching and been wanting to get this guy on the show, Afropop, which he has his own soda, black owned soda business. The can art is fire, just absolutely fire, and then the liquid is from what I'm seeing is really delicious. So he has become one of the semifinalists for the Black Ambition, which is founded by Pharrell Williams and is working close to wealth. He's working to close the wealth gap by investing in bold ideas and providing underrepresented founders with resources, capital, and community that they need to thrive. So over the next few months, they'll be joining a mentor program powered by Cinematic Labs is a weird name of a company, with support of Evoke Life to help founders like us to grow and build and scale. Then we also have one more semifinalist that you might recognize, Moore's Beer. So Moore's Beer, they're still on the afterglow of winning the Samuel Adams American Dream Award, and now they are semifinalists also for the Black Ambition Award. So we want to cheer these people on. It's kind of awesome to see people that you know or you recognize trying to get that award. So kudos to them, and they have a chance to win $1 million in funding. So that's pretty cool. And that is really all that I got for news. So let me go ahead and bring up my guests.
Hi.
Good evening. Good evening. So it seems like it's been I guess 6 months or so, because I think I met y'all in January.
Yeah.
So if you don't know, this is a dynamic couple of Cidersoms, and I'm just elated to want to talk to y'all and get some information about cider, because I know we always talk about craft beer and everything, but everything is craft. So because I'm a softie at heart and I love stories, tell me how y'all met.
Oh, how we met. I'll let you take that one.
We met in high school. And actually, it was like a double date kind of thing. And she was supposed to be hooking up with a friend of mine, actually, and the two of them didn't hit it off. And so at the end of the night, she and I ended up exchanging numbers and started dating. We found out that our families knew each other before we even met each other. So it was really, it was a strange turn of events how things turned out. But yeah, we've known each other since high school, dated in high school, broke up in college, did the college thing, and then reconnected after college and got married, and it's been that way ever since.
Awesome. How long have y'all been married?
19 years.
Ooh, okay. Hanging on in there. That is a feat. That's definitely a feat in this day and time. That's awesome. That's awesome. So before you got to before y'all became Cidersoms, so what were y'all doing? Were y'all in the beverage game at all, or did you kind of get into cider? How did you migrate into, out of all the different spirits, how did y'all land on cider?
Yeah, so we're actually really big wine drinkers. And shortly after we got married, we were living in St. Louis, which, as you know, is a really big beer town. And so we were always the ones bringing wine everywhere. And people are like, come on now, we don't want to have a glass of wine. So it was right when cider distribution started to be a little more national. So Woodchuck was the first cider brand that you could get like in the grocery stores. And so we kind of discovered it there. We were like, oh, it's in a little bottle. We can bring it. And then we moved back to Chicago maybe about a year or so after that. And at that time, Seattle Cider had just started distributing in Chicago. Virtue Cider had kind of just opened up. The Chicago cider scene was expanding. And so a lot of our friends kind of knew we enjoyed cider. And so we just started writing about it, giving people recommendations. And so it's more of us trying to really get wine drinkers into cider, letting them know it's not a beer alternative. I mean, it stands on its own category, but that it's made for like wine. So if you like wine, chances are you're going to like most ciders.
Okay. I can definitely attest to there is so much. The world of cider is it's daunting. It's like it's so much. I was when I went to CiderCon. I mean, I enjoyed cider here and there, and probably thought okay, but my eyes were so open to the complexity of what cider could be, and it was a wonderful surprise. And I was trying to think of the one cider that I drank that was that I kept on going back to and I raved about. There was one. It was not espresso, but it was a take on a of a coffee drink. I cannot think of what it like. Not matcha, but it was something. It'll come back to me because I raved about that. That was the one, and I've never done that. Where going to different festivals that I've gone to, you know, it's like, yeah, I enjoyed it, but that one, even though it's been a while, it's still in my mind. Like if somebody said it out loud, I know it's that one. It's that one right there.
Yeah,
that never happens to me because everything. By the time you've had your third drink or whatever,
yes, yeah.
So, tell me more about the name Cidersom. How did you come up with that name? Where does it come from?
So when we started putting the blog together, originally started writing about cider, there were right now what is called as a pommelier. That's the equivalent to a sommelier in wine. However, at the time, it wasn't a thing. And so we wanted to get across the point that we were, you know, educating about cider. And so we came up with the name Cidersom, but we made sure to make it with one M instead of two, so that we wouldn't offend any real sommeliers and say, well, that's not even a real thing. And so it's a play on words, but that's the meaning behind it.
Awesome. Okay. So let me kind of go switch into gears as far as let's talk about cider. So I know that y'all were drinking some. Tell me what are y'all having this evening?
Yeah, so today I'll show the front, this and the back. This is a cider from Brooklyn Cider House. They are in New York. They are one of the few Asian American cider makers. So it's two generations inspired by their Korean heritage and also Basque cider. They have a farm in Hudson Valley, or an orchard in Hudson Valley. And so they're growing a lot of these cider apples. And that really is one thing, and I'm sure you saw that when you were at CiderCon, that it's not normally the grocery store apples that you see, like the Honeycrisp or the Granny Smith, that are making ciders. It's apples that you probably wouldn't want to eat because they're usually too bitter or too acidic or things like that. And this one, this cider uses a blend of 4 cider apples, including a crab apple, and crab apples add a lot of nice sharpness to ciders. And it's lightly sparkling, unfiltered. Again, like I kind of showed, it comes in the 750 ml bottle. So it's a lot different than what most people kind of think of when they're looking for cider in the store.
So let's talk about cider just in general, because I think that people think about Woodchuck or Ace. I believe that's one as far as cider. So how can you explain to people what it is? Because it's not just spiked up apple juice. It's a little bit more than that. and someone like just come to me like I'm 3 years old as far as like talking about cider.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's kind of like winemaking. I mean, so you have thousands of different varieties of cider apples. Just like with winemaking, you take them, you press the juice, and then you ferment it. And that really is kind of the difference about cider and what people think with beer. Beer's done hot, as you know, so you're brewing something like a tea, whereas cider is done cold. And fermenting it like wine because it has like those natural fruit flavors and things like that. And so you treat it just like wine kind of in the making. And so then as a result, the product that you're getting in more of these kind of craft situations are going to have a lot of these flavor nuances. So you're going to be able to pick up like notes of apricot or peach or white flowers or things like that, forest floor, all of the same terms that you normally would hear in wine, except a lot of ciders are not barrel aged. So you're not going to necessarily get some of those tertiary notes that you get out of barrels. So sometimes red wine drinkers are not as keen on cider. You're not going to get the vanilla necessarily, or of course not like the oakiness, unless something's been done. You might get some of the butteriness. And then some of the ciders that you had, I mean, it does run the gamut. You still have a lot that are in the cans. You have the adjuncts added or different flavor profiles added. So you'll get berries like blueberry, blackberry, currants added to them, and those fruits will really come through. Or like you said, you might have coffee. We've had a coffee cider before. We've had a gin botanical cider where you get the notes of that, where they kind of steeped it in there like a tea afterwards. So I think something that's really cool about cider as compared to some of the other categories of beverages is that it's really experimental, especially in the US. And outside of the US, they're a little more constrained by country regulations. But in the US, it really can run the gamut, and people can find something that's like super dry, no sugar, super strong and tannic, all the way up to being very fruit forward, flavorful, like sweet but not syrupy sweet, which I mean that's why we like it. We think it's a great category for everyone.
That's perfect.
Yeah. So tell me, as far as like, because I'm in Texas, so my geographical knowledge is very, very subdued because you can drive 8 hours in Texas and still be in Texas.
Right.
So where is the area that normally gravitates to cider making? What part of the state?
I mean, it really wherever the apples are. So like Washington State has a lot of apples. There's a lot of ciders that you can find in the Pacific Northwest.
Okay.
But then obviously like Michigan, because so close to us where they have apples out there, and then a lot of in New York, also like upstate New York, because there are a lot of orchards up there. So pretty much wherever you can find the apples is where you're gonna find cideries. And then you might also find some that are close by those areas that will be buying juice from those places and bringing their juice in because they don't have apples in their states.
Okay.
And like you said, being in Texas, so you all have Austin East ciders out there.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I am familiar with them. Yeah. A lot. I actually used to work for them. I did brand ambassador when they first came out.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. So yeah, I found out and fell in love with them a lot. Yeah. So what was the aha moment for y'all when you said, you know what, cider, this is it. This is what we're doing as far as being Cidersoms?
I really do think it was when we were kind of growing with the Chicago community, and something that we found that others were not focused on. I mean, we always hate the term influencers, but our friends tell us that's what we are. We were not we weren't focused on ourselves. We really were focused on trying to uplift the category as a whole. So very early on, like we stopped doing reviews on cider because I may not like a certain flavor profile, like unless it's flawed, then I'm not going to shut that down from someone. And so it was really like we can kind of open people's eyes to it. It's like you said, not a lot of people really know what's going on in cider. And so we can educate them, but it's not like they feel like it's so unapproachable like wine. Sometimes people do feel like wine has a certain echelon and there may be like a barrier to entry, which is not true. But
cider's definitely not like that.
Right. They really do feel like cider is more approachable. And then the people who we got to interact with on the cider making side, I mean, it's a lot of farmers, like Sean said, Michigan, not that far for us to go up into the cider regions in Michigan, 2.5 hours to get up there and really meet people and go on their farms and kind of see like this farm to glass movement of you have this in the orchard, you're getting it from your orchard or the neighboring orchard, and you're pressing the juice and you're creating like this wonderful fermented product. I think that is really why we were like, we want to kind of help cider grow and get more people interested in it.
Okay. So let's talk about more in diverse spaces. So how has your experience been like navigating being a Black couple in this industry? How has it been for you?
I think it's been good. So this isn't our like real job. It's our cash negative hobby. So we've already had to navigate on the corporate side. So this is much more refreshing. And I think it is because you have a lot more small business owners. You have people who are close to the land. They just have kind of a different idea about taking in and building community. So we've always felt like there's been a great community around us. I mean, of course, we want to see the number of cider makers who are of color be increased. We've worked with the American Cider Association with their Cider for Everyone scholarship program to try and bring in more diverse voices. Because when I first started going to CiderCon, and Sean couldn't join me that year because he had to work. So I was like the only Black person there. Maybe there was one other guy who was a rep for Heineken. But like and so it was it felt isolating in that way, but then everybody was super welcoming. And I think it's like they kind of recognized that it was a deficiency for the industry, that they did want to welcome in people. They just did not know how to welcome in people. And so I think the two of us, having both of us together in those spaces has been great. And it's helped us kind of open it up for others to get in and see that they can get in there. They can get on the board, they can join committees, they can have a voice.
So that leads me to the event that I went to when I was at CiderCon. Will you tell our audience a little bit about the diverse voices, the dinner that we had with the pairing?
Yeah, we got together with some BIPOC cider makers because there are literally just a handful, so it wasn't hard to get them together. And what we wanted to do really was to bring together some BIPOC cider makers and have their ciders paired with food made from a Black-owned restaurant. To bring the whole holistic part of what we're trying to do to I guess, bring about more knowledge to cider and minority cider makers and get them involved. And so that's really what we wanted to do. And as always, we wanted to make sure that we could get the actual cider makers there so that, as you guys as guests were there, we're able to talk to them and see them and hear their stories and their connection to it. Just so that everyone can understand the passion that, these cider makers have.
Yeah, that was an amazing, phenomenal dinner, start to finish. The location was amazing. The food was amazing. The service was amazing, and I was stuffed. I think I was the one that the to-go box because I couldn't finish it. And then it was like, yeah, hey, let me get the dessert, because I was like, I'm not leaving this dessert. God, please let me take it home, because I can't even finish. I think it was not prime rib, but it was lamb. It was like a lamb steak, something. It was huge. Whatever it was huge.
Yeah.
But it was absolutely flavorful and delicious. And having that pairing with that discussion from each cider maker, talking about where they're from, their orchard, and then about the actual cider that we were drinking was amazing. I truly do enjoy those type of pairings where you get that extra from the actual person that made it. So that was wonderful. I really enjoyed that. What ways do you think would be tangible ways do you think would be for more people of color to come into the cider world, outside of having, like, and I'll just throw it out here, like, for on the beer side, usually when they have like an event or whatever, they pull a photo of someone of color. It's like, yay, we're here. What do you think would be good to do outside of the as far as like cider is for everyone? What other tangible things do you think would be fruitful for more people to come in? Say for people like me that don't know anything about cider.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this. We have a committee that we're on with the American Cider Association, and we have been discussing ways to get, from the consumer side and the maker side, more people involved. I think from the consumer side that we're probably going to have more visibility at festivals that cater to a BIPOC audience. So, for example, there's always been a presence at Barrel and Flow. Hannah, who you met from Dope, she's in Youngstown. She's in Pittsburgh all the time. And so she's a really great advocate for cider there. Also, like the Wine and Culture Fest, like looking at avenues like that where we can get cider in front of people and kind of show, like, hey, it's similar to what you're kind of drinking. And I mean, we've seen that at some of the festivals, at least like in Chicago, some of the winemakers will go, or some of the cider makers will go to Wine Fest or some of the beer fest, and it's usually just one table or so. And so I think it's probably having like a concerted effort of showing those handful, like we said, of BIPOC cider makers, or at least being able to showcase their cider, getting it in front of people. One thing that I think is unique to cider, and I'm sure this is very similar for craft beer too, and as you touched upon, it's very regional. And so even if we can bring things to certain places, if people are like, where can I find it? It's like online, like you're not going to be able to go to your store and find it. And so I think that's also kind of a barrier of getting people into it. But the dinners, I mean, really some of the dinners that we have found just throughout the city, people will talk about some of the ciders that they've had there, and they try to seek them out. Like one of our wine shops around here, one of their other wine club members went to a dinner that we threw and told them that they needed to carry the cider that we had at the dinner. Yeah. So it's like, I think some of it, I mean, it's great to like do the festivals if you have the funds for that, the people who can be out there. But I think a lot of it is kind of like incremental. You get someone to know like what it is. For example, my cousin, she's in Pittsburgh and has joined us at a couple of Barrel and Flows. And we saw her yesterday. And she commented about how she went to a brewery, asked them if they had cider, and then they went into this long thing. And she's like, I'm educated. I don't need you to like explain to me how cider's made, why you can't make it here. I'm just asking if you have one. And so I think things like that, like just having that outreach to our community of it's not what you think, just like everything else. Like people started with wine coolers or Zima or Smirnoff Ice. It's like, you're going to gravitate. It's not just this little bubble.
Yeah, you definitely got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
So
you can't be scared to try cider again and again and again, because the first ones that you buy them from the grocery store or something, they're gonna be sweet. So if you don't like that one, you just like with beer, you keep going, you find the one that you like, and you're like, all right, now let me go here. Let me see what else I can get that's close to this, and then expand your palate from there. So just don't be afraid of it.
That's definitely true because for one, I was team no IPA for a long time. A long time. And it was only because I wanted to do beer judging that I said, I got to learn how to drink this.
Yeah.
And I finally found one that a style that I really enjoyed. And I knew I told you I was going to remember. It was a chai.
From
chai
Canada.
cider.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely delicious.
Yeah, from Canada. So that's Two Blokes Cider. They're about an hour west of Toronto.
Okay.
Yeah, it is really good. Yeah, those spice, like the warming spices that you get from chai kind of coming through, but you still taste the apple.
Yeah, I think it really had me going because I started buying chai tea, and now that I think about it, that was why. Because I was searching for that high. I was searching for that high.
But those are the stories that we like to hear when people try and they're like, man, I found one that I really love, and that just opened my eyes up to what cider really can be. So that's exactly why we get into it. So it's great.
Definitely. And just going back to CiderCon again, because I've been to GBAF, I've been to other festivals, but I think I was more overwhelmed with the amount of ciders and iterations and choices that I was overwhelmed and just like surprisingly overwhelmed that there were so many different things and different avenues. So this is my plug to anyone who decided they want to try CiderCon. Definitely go and enjoy. And it's very true. People were very welcoming and wanting to share and have conversations. Just coming up to you, it's like, hey, what do you have? And just having this conversation about the cider. And like, you need to go, if you like this, you need to try this one. Or like, hey, take me over here. It's like, okay. So and that's good. That's perfect for someone that, because Hannah was at her table, so she couldn't hang with me. So I had to kind of, dream of my own adventure with that. So yeah, that was perfect for that. So let me do some quick hits. So I want to see, put on your thinking hats. I want to see if y'all can describe each other as a cider. Oh. So who's dry, crisp, go-getter, and who's like the funky, wild, fermented? Either one of y'all can go. Y'all describe.
You would be funkier than me.
Yeah, she would be like your traditional dry cider. You're like table cider. You're like, all right, I'll just have this cider. Every day I can have this cider because I know what I'm gonna get.
And
yes, he would be the funky wild. You don't know what the bottle will be like today.
Oh, funny.
He's still in it.
Okay. So if Cidersom was a cider flavor in a glass, what would be some of the tasting notes?
That's a good question. Well, I'm going to say peach because peach is Sean's favorite fruit. So, like, it would be peach and crisp and dry. And what else?
That's good. But not fruity, but not like a fruity peach.
Like
so it'll be like a dry peach,
mm-hmm.
like more like the scent of a peach, like the not like when you bite into it, like the juicy that you would get when you bite into it, but more like the smell of a peach.
Okay. That sounds good. It sounds nice and drinkable. That sounds nice.
For summertime, it's summer.
So, ask both of y'all. So, what would you consider the best cider food pairing? What is your go-to?
Oh, that's a tough question. I can give you some unique ones.
Right.
Okay.
And then also it kind of goes back to, you can kind of pair ciders like you would pair most white wines. So once you pick up the notes that are in there, like peach is going to be in stone fruit, you're going to pick up in like Chardonnays, for example, but it may not be as rich. So something you might pair with that. Buttered popcorn is a good one if you have a super dry cider, because then it cuts through the richness of the popcorn, and it's a nice, easy one. A lot of people pair pork with cider. I would say, just like with wine, if you're looking at pairings, you really need to look at the sauces that you're putting onto your foods.
Okay.
And then you just have to decide, do you want it to be complementary or non-complementary? So, of course, if you're going to put so this cider, which I will try again, like it's a little, it has some of like the sweetness, like fruit sweetness. And so I could see this going with like a chicken or pork that maybe has like some stone fruit sauce on it. So kind of thinking about like the summertime again, you have grilled fruits and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
The ciders to kind of cut through it. If you have the fruitier or sweeter, maybe sweeter, not so much fruitier ciders, then it could be complimentary and you could pair it with a dessert, or you could pair it with like a sharp cheddar cheese or something like that. And so our whole thing is like, we want people to drink it. So kind of like go out there, try it, taste your different sauces, taste it on your right side of your mouth, your left side of your mouth, and kind of see what enhances the food that you're eating.
Okay. And thinking back to one of my previous hosts, he would always say, what's your highest ABV? So what is one of the higher ABVs for cider? Or is there a standard that usually cider is?
So cider's not usually that high. That unfortunately does turn some people off because they're striving to get the highest ABV. It's lower than wine. There are ciders that sometimes will be labeled imperial ciders, or if you get them out of warmer, like the apples are grown in warmer climates, not made in warmer climates. So like the apples being grown in Virginia, they can get higher, like 11, 12, but most cider is around 5 to 8. I would say 8's probably pushing it, which actually also in the current environment of people being sober curious or looking for lower ABV options, cider is a really great option for that because it's just naturally lower, but you don't have, you know what you're getting. So unlike some seltzers where it just says alcohol and you don't necessarily know what kind of alcohol is in it, with the cider, I mean, you know that you're getting fermented fruit, but that you're going to get a lower ABV than wine.
Cool. Let's see. So let me wrap up with what is going on in the future. Where do you see Cidersom going in the next couple of years?
More cider festivals. I don't know. You know, like Malenka had mentioned, we kind of, you know, evolved from just writing about ciders and posting about ciders. I mean, we do that, but we've gotten more involved with the American Cider Association and just trying to make cider more visible to everyone and make it more approachable to everyone and just get more education out. And so hopefully in the future, we just continue to grow that. You know, like we were talking about the Ciders for Everyone scholarship, just hoping, you know, we're working to make sure that that stays fruitful and is in a bonus for people that are interested in cider. You know, we've had people come through there who have been bartenders that, you know, are interested in cider. We've had, you know, beer makers come in that are interested in cider. So, you know, just working to expand the visibility of cider everywhere. And you know, true to our core point when we first got started is to make people really understand and appreciate cider the way that they appreciate other, we'll say, high quality drinks. Understand, when you're looking at a cider, there's, like we've been talking about orchards, but there's someone handpicking, these apples from the trees. And if you just, are aware of the story and just think about, there's a guy out going out in the morning in coveralls, picking apples and, doing all the work by hand. And then they give you this, drink in the bottle, just to follow it from start to finish is really what we want people to understand and value and, appreciate.
That's awesome. That definitely seeing that from the orchard to the glass, having that in your head as you're drinking and getting a better appreciation for the craftsmanship of that cider making is definitely something that people should truly recognize. So yeah, I totally agree with you. So are there any other, let's see, outside of doing more cider cons, more festivals, what other things that you can think of as far as is there any projects that might be going on that you can think of that as far as like in the BIPOC spaces?
I mean, like you said, our dinners have been well received. So that was the one you attended was a third dinner, maybe fourth. The first one was actually at our house. So we had like 5 people who came to our house, including 3 of our friends and 2 of someone else's friends. So we have found for us kind of like educating on the smaller scale, that kind of scale, getting 2 people who we know, like, you're interested in wine, this will kind of appeal to you. We can talk to you on a one-to-one basis. You're a captive audience for like 3 hours. I mean, that has been something we've been asked about considering. We've been asked to consider doing dinners in other cities and things like that. And so that's something that I think, at least for what we can do, of our food base, having friends that are in the restaurant industry and bringing them together with these cider makers, that is really where we as Cidersoms can make kind of inroads outside of like the content creation and things like that and drawing people to the festivals. It's getting them there, like you said, talking to the cider makers. You have the product, you know them, and then you feel inspired to buy their product, seek out their product, kind of tell people about it. I think that's how we'll kind of make our little mini mark on bringing consumers in, and then continuing to make sure that those cider makers who've gotten into the industry feel like they're supported, feel like that they have an inclusive environment, that they can be their true authentic selves and get the support that they need to get their product out there in front of people. Really, that's what our mission is.
That's awesome. Okay. And I guess one thing I was thinking of as because I was thinking about like getting some cider. So y'all are not blogging about cider anymore, right? Correct?
Well, no, we do Instagram about it. We just don't review it. So we do talk about it from time to time. And it's more kind of like how I was saying what the cider that I'm drinking, what it tastes like. We give people some tasting ideas about it. But we're just not giving reviews. It's just, this is what it is. Take it or leave it.
So as I'm scrolling, minding my business, loving Jesus like I do, I come upon Cidersoms on Instagram, and I might see a bottle of something, and I'll be able to see, are you adding the cider maker, where I might try to do some Blue's Clues and finding where it is. Maybe I can grab it.
Yeah, we always add the cider makers. And then another wonderful online store is called Press Then Press. They have an amazing selection of ciders in these like 750s, the craft ciders. They actually are very speaking a lot of good wine language if you're into wine language, because you can kind of sort if you want something that has high tannins or low acid and things like that, language that wine drinkers would be somewhat familiar with, but also other flavor profiles that if you're not familiar with it, you don't feel like you can't figure out what to get. But yeah, a lot of the cider makers have clubs. During the pandemic, they did a lot of online shipping, and so you can usually, if you have something, you can usually find it direct from them.
And it's called Press Wine Press.
Press,
Press.
then press. THEN.
Press
So
then press.
press then press.
Don't mind me while I get my cider order.
Oh no!
Go for it.
No,
Go for
absolutely.
Okay, so I know what to follow, because I was like, you know, I haven't really been drinking as much lately, and so I just haven't had anything. I was like, that would be a great, as you gave a great commercial, great advocacy. As far as like, I said, yeah, you're right, because I'm not looking for something that's used ABV. I'm looking for something to, maybe every once in a while, maybe on the weekend, on that Friday after the week is done, having that one glass before I, take the shower, knock on off, go to sleep. So yeah, that's perfect. Okay, so that's a great resource. Yeah, because I had not heard of that, and I was wondering. I was like, well, I know I'm going to have to get it shipped some kind of way, but I need to know what the list was. And then I think I know just a little enough to be dangerous from going to CiderCon on what I like. So, my last question to y'all: what legacy do you want to leave from the cider industry? What is what would you like your legacy to be?
So, actually, I think it's kind of passing it down to our kids. So we have 2 boys, and actually, our oldest son, he had to do a passion project for his junior year. And his passion project, which is still ongoing, and we'll share the website when it's complete, is building a website to help consumers know what cider apples taste like. Because they've been traveling with us to all of these places. Again, cider being, we can visit these farms. The tap rooms are usually relatively family friendly if they're not in major cities. And so the boys have been around apples for a really long time. And so I think having the younger generation kind of see that it's this agricultural product, that it's a farmer based product, even if people aren't growing the apples, they're still sourcing the juices from farmers more or less. Kind of having them take it on and then educate their friends when they're able to drink of like, hey, there's some alternatives out here besides back to like the Zimas and the Smirnoff ices and whatever
it will be,
the XXL wines, like other things that it's like you can start drinking these things, experiencing these things at a younger age because you've kind of been around it, and giving that to them. Like I always say, I wish I knew wine buyer was a job when I was their age. Like, so I think it's that it's like you have these amazing opportunities that are out there, and making sure that the younger generation appreciates all of the work that everyone is currently doing.
That's awesome. That's beautiful. Yeah, I love that. So those are all the questions that I had. Thank you again to both of you for coming and sharing and giving us some insight on the wonderful world of cider. And I hope that people will take that into consideration when they decide to choose something, that they can choose a cider, because there are, when you do go to tap rooms, and I think that's really happening even more so, that people are having that alternative when they go to a tap room, that there is a cider on that's available to them.
Yeah.
So that's really great. And tell us again how we could reach you on socials.
So do you want to turn around? You have your
yes,
it's on the back of his shirt. But
let's see if that'll work.
It should. It does. It's just backwards. It does work. It's just backwards. But yeah, so at Cidersom, primarily we're doing Instagram. You can find us on Threads, Facebook. But the best place to follow us is on Instagram.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. Well, thank you again. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for Being Black in Craft, where we don't apologize for recognizing our influence on cider. And y'all have a wonderful night.
You
Thanks,
too.
you too.
Thank you.